Welcome to the second lecture of our Introduction to Mathematical Philosophy. In the first lecture, the calculus of real numbers and the basics of modern set theory guided us through the mazes of infinity. Today, a mixture of formal languages, recursive definitions, set theory again, and the principle of complete induction will illuminate another central topic of philosophy: truth. What is truth? Philosophers have been asking this question since the beginnings of philosophy. It's the question that Pilate poses to Jesus according to the Gospel of John. And even in ordinary life and in the sciences, where one is not typically asking that question, people are still presupposing some kind of answer to it. For the concept of truth gets applied a lot even outside of philosophy. More precisely, the term true, the linguistic expression, is used a lot in natural language discourse, even though people usually do not think much about its meaning. "What you say is not true," says the policeman to the burglar. "You were not at home that night. A neighbor saw you leave the house." Or, "We have excellent reasons to believe quantum mechanics to be true," says the physicist. "It's been confirmed empirically a great number of times." We regard knowably asserting something that is false, that is, something which is not true, as problematic, even morally problematic, at least in many contexts. And truth is usually regarded the aim of science. That is, the aim of science is to determine which sentences are true and which are not. In all of these examples, truth and falsity have been ascribed to so-called descriptive or declarative sentences. Sentences which describe something, in contrast with, for example, questions or imperatives. Or alternatively, truth and falsity are ascribed to what is expressed by descriptive sentences. Either we say the descriptive sentence "Snow is white" is true, whereby a sentence I mean here simply a sequence of symbols meaningfully put together, or we say what the descriptive sentence "Snow is white" expresses is true. What does the sentence "Snow is white" express? It expresses that snow is white. As philosophers say, the sentence "Snow is white" expresses the proposition that snow is white, where a proposition is not a string of symbols, but rather what is expressed by, or said by, or conveyed by such a sequence of symbols. In the next lecture, we will introduce a more precise way of thinking about propositions in this sense of the word, but in the present lecture, sentences will be more important than propositions. So truth and falsity are typically predicated either of descriptive sentences or of the things that are expressed by such sentences, propositions. Sometimes, however, we use the term true also more liberally. For instance, we might say that a certain story is true. But a story is just a sequence of sentences. And presumably, we mean then that all the sentences in the story are true. Or we say that a certain belief is true. I believe that snow is white, and that belief is true. But every belief has a proposition as its content. I believe that snow is white. The proposition that snow is white is the content of my belief. And when we say that the belief is true, we really mean that its content, a proposition, is true. But shouldn't the term true, the truth predicate, be relativized to persons somehow? After all, doesn't everyone have his or her truth? Say, you and I trust different weather forecasts. It is true for me that it will be raining at a particular time and place, while it is true for you that it will be sunny then and there. Or we might have different tastes. It is true for me that the Beatles were the greatest pop rock band of all times, while it is true for you that the Rolling Stones were the greatest, and so on. At least in the case of the weather forecast, that's not a good way of expressing oneself. I believe it to be true that it will be raining at a particular time and place, while you believe something else. You believe it to be true that it will be sunny then and there. But one should not mix up believing to be true, holding to be true, taking to be true, accepting to be true, with being true. Say it is sunny at that particular time and place, then you were right. It is true that it is sunny at that particular time and place. I believed it to rain, and hence I believed something to be true, which turned out to be false. I believe A to be true, and A is true. I believe A to be true, maybe even for very good reasons, but A is false. I do not believe A to be true, and A is true. Or, I do not believe A to be true, and A is not true. Having a belief in A is logically independent of the truth of A, at least for most sentences A. Furthermore, take a typical everyday sentence such as, Peter is at home right now. Either he is at home or he is not. In the first case, the sentence is true. In the second case, the sentence is false. And hence, its negation is true. Peter is not at home right now is true. So for every such sentence, either the sentence is true or the negation, the corresponding negative sentence, is true. But it might well be the case that I neither believe that Peter is at home right now, nor do I believe the negation. I might simply suspend judgment on the matter. For example, because I do not have good evidence either way. So belief allows for suspension of judgment, while truth does not. Belief is a super interesting concept, which, by the way, will be the topic of the next lecture. But let us not confuse it with truth. While belief is indeed relative to persons, your beliefs won't always coincide with mine, that does not mean that truth is relative to persons. We may always say true or false without relativizing these terms to people. The case of taste, which I had also mentioned before, is a bit different. While we all think that there are facts of the matter as far as the weather is concerned, and if you're in doubt, come to Munich and get wet, it is much less clear that there are corresponding facts of the matter in the case of aesthetic judgments or moral judgments, or for that matter, any kind of value judgment. It is simply not clear that the sentences that express value judgments are really descriptive sentences. Whether there is something at all that they describe, an aesthetic or moral reality. And if they don't, then applying the truth predicate to them does not make much sense in the first place. It would be like saying of a question that it is true, or of an imperative statement that it is true, which would be awkward. Sentences expressing value judgments are another really interesting philosophical topic, but again, I won't deal with them today. Within the context of this lecture, I will make sure that we will only consider applications of the truth predicate to sentences which are unproblematically descriptive. On a personal note, the Beatles were the greatest pop rock band of all times, and the Rolling Stones were not. Fact of the matter. But that won't matter for now.